If people are dieting now more than ever before, then why are nearly 1 in 3 American adults overweight? Dr. Gundry, who's helped thousands lose weight and feel younger and healthier than ever, says most people are not getting enough fat-burning MCTs from their food. MCTs are a special kind of compound that instead of turning into fat when you consume it, turns into ketones, which is a chemical that breaks down the excess fat in your body. So, by getting more MCTs in your diet, you essentially flip a switch that puts your body in caloric bypass mode, which can flush out excess fat and calories. And he's created an easy way for you to activate caloric bypass right at home. It's called MCT Wellness. This powerful blend of fat-flushing MCT powders and antioxidant-rich polyphenols is designed to help you unlock your body's fat-burning, energy-producing potential. What's even better is that it's a delicious drink. I love how incredible it tastes. All you do is add a scoop to water, enjoy, and watch as you start feeling slimmer and more energized. So, if you want to experience a quick, easy, and effective way to melt pounds fast, go to GundryMD.com/energy and order right now to get up to 53% off your regular price order with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Again, that's GUNDRYMD.com/energy.
At Baker's Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Baker's Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Baker's, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
Hello, Chris here to talk about Indie Insights. Indie Insights is our bi-weekly newsletter and love note to the film industry, movies, and the creatives that make them, not to mention you, our esteemed listeners. Inside, you'll find curated industry trends, articles, exclusive commentary, and unappreciated films from filmmakers like yourself worldwide. The best part is that it's completely free. So sign up today at www.bonsai.film/subscribe. It just takes a few seconds, and once you sign up, you'll get our next newsletter on Friday morning. It's that simple. Go to www.bonsai.film/subscribe to get Indie Insights, our bi-weekly newsletter, and join a network of film creatives like yourself. That's www.bonsai.film/subscribe to get Indie Insights for free. Hello, lovely people. Chris here to share this episode's featured track, continuing our partnership with Bodega Sync. This is where we feature a song from an independent artist curated exclusively by our partners at Bodega and us at the Make It Podcast. Today's outro song is Make Me Feel New by Colombian-American musician and songwriter Niko. He's been cooking up some really cool alternative R&B. He's garnered over 400,000 streams and was featured on Apple Music's editorial playlist, Brown Sugar. So look that up on Apple Music. As the second single off his upcoming project, Love-Fi, that's spelled Lovefi, this track deals explicitly with themes of desire, doubt, and the way a person makes another person feel. You can follow him on Instagram at niko.way, that's spelled NIKO.WAY, and on Facebook at niko.artist.music. Again, please let us know if you like this new approach to our intro and outro music, actually. And without further ado, please enjoy our conversation with the founders of Kino Studios, the incredible and amazing Daryl Fannin and Austin Worrell, featuring the amazing track Make Me Feel New by Niko. You're listening to Make It, the indie film podcast. Hello, Chris here with another episode of the Make It podcast. And this is an Indie Talk week, and that means I have my good friend and co-founder Nicholas Buggs with me, as well as our esteemed guests Daryl Fannin and Austin Worrell. Gentlemen, say hello.
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 Yeah, you see, Austin was waiting. I love this, man. It's like Chris gets us every time. He's like, there's 3 people in the room, and he's gonna be like, gentlemen, say hello. Just talk over yourselves. That's all good. Like, well, we can do that. We can play that game.
I'm so disappointed in you, Nick.
Dude, I wait. I give the floor to the guests because they're esteemed, as you said.
You're so, once again, they told me you were this great thing. You're supposed to be this great thing, and yet you don't notice this nuance. I purposely did no pregnant pauses for you.
I know. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And you said my name first.
Yes. And I purposely said, gentlemen, say hello instead of what I normally do, which is say, Nick, Daryl, Austin, say hello. And then when I do it that way, it forces people to try to race to see who gets to say hello first. And that was my personal test to see who the alpha person was. But now I'm over it.
Right.
Now I just say everything.
Yeah, stop with psychological warfare, bro. Like,
I'll say everything together
for that. So, see, Daryl, Austin, I thought he was going to say, see, I said gentlemen, which doesn't include you, Nick.
That would have been a good joke. That would have been good. Yeah.
Gentlemen, say hello, and you too, Nick.
Right.
So something like that. I would do that to Papa Bear, but I wouldn't do that to you.
I appreciate you.
He's a swashbuckler from way back in the day. He understands.
Right. Yeah. You might get buckled.
I did want to just start by asking you guys, before we get into Kino Studios and everything you're all about, what does it mean to you to make it? I mean, the name of this podcast is Make It, and it started with that question. And this audience may not have heard us ask that in sort of recent episodes, but we want to get back to it because it's our namesake. And it still remains a powerful question because making it to every creative means something different. So just curious, what would it mean? And I know Nick is as well. What would it mean for you guys to make it? What does it mean to make it to you?
That's really interesting. I think when I first came to LA and started my career back in 2014, I would have said to make it would be able to, work with some amazing people at the top of the industry and, have my work displayed for people to see. I think that would have been amazing to me. If I could have worked with people that I loved and respected and had it, distributed worldwide, that would have been it. Fast forward a few years. I think that making it to me now looks like helping everyone get their material out there, but also do it in an equitable way. I'm tired of looking and seeing people who are creating valuable projects walk away hungry, like losing their homes because of strikes and all the rest. So to me, making it isn't just about me anymore. It's about a community of people, and there's a system that actually works. That's what it means to me to make it.
Boom. Yeah. I love it. Austin?
I mean, so what's interesting here is Daryl and I are two sides of a coin. We actually just hosted our first award show at the DGA, and we gave a speech to our 800 plus guests. We're very lucky to have the finest of LA's film and tech communities come together, and that's really Daryl and I. So Daryl is an amazing writer and executive producer who has worked with the top folks you've never heard of, like Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Damon and Sylvester Stallone. I am a 3-time tech founder. I know, right? Just never heard of those guys. But I'm a 3-time tech founder and entertainment lawyer. So I kind of sit on the opposite side. So for me, I get to support. That's sort of the role I've played, building technology, being a lawyer in those roles. And so for me, when I look at what does it mean to make it, for me personally, it is empowering filmmakers through technology and systems that are built for them. But more broadly, I think what I get excited by is empowering the next generation of stories to be told and facilitating the ability for more stories to be told. Film and TV is such an incredible medium to inspire, to innovate, to allow us to feel something, to laugh, to cry, to impact social change. And if we can empower more stories to be told by eradicating inefficiencies and inequitability, then I know that Daryl and I will feel like we've made it. And I know our filmmakers will feel like they've made it because their stories are going to be seen by millions of people. They're going to get paid fairly. And we're going to be fixing a lot of issues that are core to a beautiful, beautiful industry.
Man, Chris, I'm about to reach through this camera, bro, and just give some hugs. You know what I'm saying? Just reach out. It's just one of those things where you're speaking our language, right? I think Chris will echo this. Like, you're speaking our language. I mean, think about the name of the podcast. We've come from the same place that you have, right? We've seen some of these inefficiencies. We've seen the lack of inclusion, equity, all the different things. We've seen the sharks in the water that are coming after the filmmaking minnows. Like, we've seen all of this. And that was really what started this podcast in general, was just like, this can't be, guys. Like, we have to get the word out. We got to warn people, educate people, get people who've been there, done that, to provide advice, insight, their experiences, because we're doing the same thing, right? It's no longer about us. It's about what we can do for the community. So, like, my follow-up question to you guys is, like, what flipped the script? Like, what happened? Like, what happened to you that said, you know what? It can't be about me anymore. Like, this problem is bigger than me. What happened? What was the thing? What was the catalyst?
You know, I mean, I have a really long story to get to this point, but we'll fast forward and just say that while I really thought that I made it, when I sold my own show to Netflix, I was halfway through my master's program. Matt Damon literally FaceTimed my mom and dad to tell them that we sold the show. I was like, fuck it. I've done it. I've made it. You know, I get to write, act, and executive produce my own show. This is it. I'm on the top. It's never going to change. You know, like, this is the dream. And I was so very fortunate and had some incredible people champion me. But what was interesting is that, you know, that show got canceled. I didn't get paid for about 6 months worth of work. I watched vendors not get paid for weeks and weeks of work. I have a good friend of mine, who had to pack up and move out because multiple shows had just ended in a way that was not financially feasible. And so I was watching my friends, and this is all before the strikes. The strikes made everything infinitely worse, but I was just watching my friends and make these movies that would go out and they'd make a bunch of money, but still the movie lost money. So it'd be a $3 million movie, it'd bring in $6 million in distribution. It's still not profitable. Like, that math wasn't mathing for me. And I just saw the writing on the wall. And when I reached out to Austin, this is, you know, pre-strikes and everything, but I was just like explaining to him the problems that I had seen and my friends had seen. And we started jamming around how we saw technology solving that. And we got really excited because Austin, I think, you know, was probably a little bit more, and, you know, he was going to USC and he was getting the education and seeing how, you know, those great lawyers screw over artists in the contracts. But before that experience and education, I think everybody's perception is, oh, if you're on TV, you're making a bunch of money. And so it was like literally firsthand seeing my friends on 7 seasons of TV as a series regular, having to go to a coffee shop to pick up a job to make ends meet while their episodes were airing because they were owed money and not getting paid. Wow. It was just too much. I was frustrated, and I saw that it was a broken system. And I thought, like, initially I was pretty selfish. I was like, oh, I'm going to go just do this for myself. And then as Austin and I started talking, we realized there's an opportunity to empower a lot of people with these tools.
Yeah, I love it. I'm curious, Austin, since Daryl brought it up, what is an example of a great contract, and what are the tenets of a contract where you're really getting screwed? And I mean, you don't have to like break down this like isn't a class in law, but if you give 3 tenets of a good contract and 3 tenets of a bad contract, that'd be great.
Well, that's a dangerous question to ask me. Daryl knows that I am a huge geek, and if I could sit down and give you a lecture on entertainment law, I would do that. I would say 3. Yeah. 3, and be careful what you wish for. 3 tenets of a great contract. I mean, it really does depend on who it's for. So if you are talent, if you're the writer, if you are the director, if you are the producer. So it's a bit of a complex question, but if I could sort of take a bird's eye view and say, what are 3 great tenets? I would say 1, that your rights are secured in perpetuity in the art that you create. And in many ways, and then that's going to be very high level, and I can get into specifics of how that works, but there are quite a few folks who work on an amazing film or show and then find out that they actually don't have any rights to any quote unquote royalties. We don't actually use the term royalty in film and TV. We tend to use the term back end or residuals. Some of these terms are a bit archaic now, but so make sure that you have a right to the work that you've done and continuing forward. I would say that the second tenet is that it is equitable, that you are being compensated fairly, and that compensation is something that is rewarding you for a job well done. I think that the third thing is probably also clarity, which is notorious in entertainment law contracts. And lawyers argue it's the beauty of it is that the complexity is built to advantage some and to disadvantage others. And so we have a concept called the waterfall, which is in any agreement. And if you do have any rights to back end, your position in that waterfall might be to the point where there aren't any drops dripping anymore. Niagara has turned into air vapors. Right. And because, this person took this and this person took that. And by the time any finances trickle down to you, there's nothing left. And it can be very daunting to approach such a complex legal document. And so at the end of the day, those sort of three areas, perpetuity, equitability, and clarity, I think are probably the three core tenets I would look for.
I think those are huge. And it's the pari passu sort of positioning of the waterfall that is so critical on gross profits versus net. That's net that kind of can trip you up. And then there was one, I remember we were negotiating a contract one time, but we didn't have the final say, which was just too bad. And there was this term in the contract that talked about bankruptcy from the distributor. And there were two clauses two legal precedents for the bankruptcy. So let's just call it, F100A and F100B. I don't remember the actual numbers. So F100A meant that if the company, the distributor goes bankrupt, then the rights to your movie go to the acquiring party or sort of go somewhere. And the second one, F100B, meant that it rolled back to the filmmaker, the original rights owner. And for whatever reason, this distributor has that first one in there. And we were telling our producing partners, hey, you need to fight for this one. This is one you have to fight for. They're like, no, we don't want to die on this hill. I'm like, this hill is where you die. These companies go out of business all the time. This is like a services contract distributor. Yeah. Now, to be transparent, this distributor has not gone out of business and is doing okay, doing well. But it's just little things like that where, I guess you just have to get Austin. You have to get a lawyer. Yeah. Because absolutely. Because the resistance to us in this podcast, Daryl, for example, is I just want to do the creative. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not even interested in the business side of this. Yeah. Somebody else needs to do that for me, or I need to find somebody I can trust that'll just do it all for me. But I think it's helpful for everybody to know it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, sorry, not to speak over top of you, Austin, but when I came to the industry, I had that exact point of view. I was like, I'm going to be the creative. I don't have to worry about the business stuff. I don't have to worry about, the legal contracts. I have a great team. And then what ended up happening on my first show is that the pilot that was written wasn't acknowledged. They ended up taking our IP from us. It was just we were completely disempowered. And this is on a union show. This is on a WGA show. I'm a WGA member. And yet still, with the contracts that be, because they are so complex. And one of my favorite stories that Austin tells is that, the basic premise of a contract is also simplicity. The simpler the terms, the more clarity, right? And so these are extremely ridiculously drawn out clauses with a bunch of extra language, and you think, oh, I heard the word gross, I'm fine. And then you find out it's adjusted gross, and adjusted gross can mean pretty much whatever the hell they want it to mean. And so it's this very, very frustrating thing that you don't even know what to look out for. And even if you have someone in your corner who you trust, who provides that great outside counsel, which I totally recommend that you find, if you are walking in uneducated, you can't be informed about your career. And that's the real problem. If you don't understand the mechanics of the business of this industry or the legal contracts of this industry, you're always going to be a victim to the information that you don't have. Austin, I saw your
probably really well said. If I could have a fourth point, control your destiny. And that can sometimes be very difficult to do in a contract. Mm-hmm. And it really doesn't necessarily matter the role. But, at the end of the day, we work with hundreds of filmmakers, rapidly scaling as a technology company backed by some of the biggest tech investors in the world. We're scaling to work with thousands of filmmakers. And something I do see quite a bit is, to what you were talking about earlier, Chris, a lot of people will sign these contracts where it really is services have been promised, but legally there's really no certainty in that. And so then you as producer or whoever else being involved, and if you're in a position to try to carry this film to the heights of success. If you don't have the tools to be in control of your own destiny, and you don't have the rights to be in control of your own destiny, well, then often this film or series, depending on where you're at, can be sort of wrenched out of your hands, and you're sitting by just watching as other people are controlling the destiny of that beautiful piece of art that you created. So, you know, if you can then maintain sort of control of your own destiny, that's great. Maybe if you're an actor, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're on the production side, but, you know, that could come back to back end, things like promoting, you know, things like, you know, at the end of the day, having some say in how this thing is marketed and gone out to the world. You know, it is a team effort. It's not to say that everyone is involved. But I often see that, you know, in contracts as well, where it's sort of, you know, oh, I'm just here to sort of sit idly by, and people tend to just agree to those terms.
Man, yeah. The world is so broad, and when you agree to that, just look out. This whole saga that you talked about, Daryl, reminds me of a friend of the podcast, Travis Nicholson's experience when he created the show Still the King for CMT, and that show was. I think they attempted to rip that out from under him and give it to, I guess, another friend of ours, Potsy, and Shannon. But that's a tough one for us. But the whole thing is that it can get sticky contractually. I am curious though, Daryl, did your experience lead you to Austin? Or did Austin find his way to you?
That is a good question. No, Daryl found his way to me. I'm going to butt in now.
Yeah, I like that. Tell the story, Austin.
Daryl. No. I was actually at my last startup. We had created, of all things, a meme coin.
Okay. Like so this would be like a Dogecoin, for example,
like a Dogecoin,
or like a Shiba Inu.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it was called Elongate. It was actually one of the most viral coins of the year, alongside Dogecoin.
Oh, Elongate coin. Me and Papa Bear were just talking about Elongate. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
I was one of the founders of Elongate. We reached over 500,000 investors, 500 million market cap. It started just on a whim. I met some random dudes and gals on Discord and Reddit. We thought it was funny that Elon Musk tweeted if there's ever a scandal about me called Elongate. And we said, hey, let's create a cryptocurrency, because that's what all the cool kids are doing. Not the cool kids, that's what the geeks were doing. Right? And if we ever make any money, we'll donate all the proceeds to charity. And we thought, no one's going to buy this stupid thing. But elongate is a very funny word. You know, why not? And so we did, and 500,000 beautiful idiots also loved it. Daryl was one of those beautiful idiots that invested in this token, and we donated millions of dollars to charity. I mean, it was a beautiful, beautiful project. We built the team to 50 full-time staff, 200 volunteers worldwide. The point of that story is not that Elongate is the next savior of humanity via technology. It was a really cool journey for me. It led me to Daryl. Daryl reached out to me on LinkedIn with a very sketchy message. It was a little like,
that's
hey,
true.
And because Elongate had donated, we donated $250,000 to Autism on the Spectrum fundraiser that Jimmy Kimmel was a part of. Daryl was writing with Jimmy Kimmel at the time, and so his worlds collided. I didn't know who the heck Daryl was. He reached out. And he was like, hey, man, would love to chat. And for some reason, I said yes. And we went and we chat. Wow. We sat at a little coffee shop. Yeah. That word.
We did that too. You know, we were there for 5 hours.
We were there for a long time.
It's coffee, a lot of coffee.
Yeah. Little coffee shop in Hollywood, and started jamming. And I actually grew up in love with film and TV. I wanted to be a film actor. So I grew up training to be an actor. You know, I did everything from theater to films. You know, I worked heavily sort of as an actor, you know, while I was growing up as a kid, nothing sort of prominent by any means, but that was my world. I was just a kid in Ohio doing all sorts of local productions, praying that someday I can make it to LA. I gave that up when my parents' business went under. We lost everything. And I decided to go become a lawyer because it felt like a position where I could fight against injustice. There was basically, my parents' business went under. There were a lot of lawyers. And I remember being like, why didn't the lawyers fix this? You know, like my little sisters, you know, my parents divorced. They were stuck, you know, single mom, 3 little sisters. I remember just being so angry, being like, there were lawyers involved. The lawyers should have fixed this. Now my family is in a bad position. So I decided to go become a lawyer. And so when Daryl and I met, and he started saying, hey, man, my people, fellow artists in this industry are being, you know, screwed over by just an old system. And it's, you know, we're in the 2020s and the internet exists, and there are billions of people on it, and they want to see this art. And yet at the end of the day, it's so so hard to get your art out to the world. And it's so hard to not just get it out there, but also to just get paid for creating it. There has to be a better solution. And so we sat down and started chatting, and it just lit a fire in me because that was my first love. I then went and, found a tech company, studied to become a lawyer, and just our worlds colliding together led to the beautiful birth of an amazing mission that turned into a vision, that turned into a beta app, that turned into a full-fledged app, that turned into a company that's raised over $4 million, that has some of the biggest tech investors in the world, and a team of 15 amazing people that are supporting us in hundreds of films that we're launching this year and next. So that was how we met, and that's where we're at today.
You might be the segue king. I'm like over here, like, so how do we then move the conversation and talking about Kino Studio and what Kino Studio does? And he was like, here you go, Nick, let me just put that on a plate for you. So that's the next thing, right? So we've talked about what it means to make it, talked about your amazing backgrounds, but really, like, let's talk about how we're going to change the game together, right? Because we're in the same mission. Like, this is what we do. Like, if you guys are doing this for the filmmakers, and that's our community, that's our friends, that's our family out there, like, we're willing to, raise that flag and let people know, like, this is where we need to go. So just give us the insight, man. Let us know how Kino Studio is going to change the game for filmmakers out there.
I mean, I'll say it simply, and then you can add flavor. We're a data-driven digital premiere app for filmmakers to launch their films to millions of fans all over the world digitally. We've actually invented a new legal watch window called LVOD Plus, Live and Video on Demand Plus. So you might know SVOD, like Netflix. You might know AVOD, like Tubi. You might know ETT, where you download to own, or sometimes called DTO. You might know PVOD, which is Premium Video on Demand. That one's kind of a misnomer. You might know TVOD, which is Transactional Video on Demand. We are LVOD. And so we introduce a live premiere where your fans can all log on to Kino and watch the cast and crew talk about the amazing film as it's premiered for the first time to thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of fans. It adds a new area for monetization, and we have a whole suite of tools to empower the filmmaker to take the friction and the pain out of things like marketing, out of things like immediate payouts, out of things, like data that actually gives you unique insights into what the platform is. Daryl, take it away.
I mean, you nailed it, dude. I don't know. There's not a lot to add. I'll just, we all know that the sales distribution funnel is broken fundamentally. If you went to Sundance this year, if you've taken a movie to the festival, honestly, in the last 5 years, you know that we are on a very difficult journey as an industry because we have left behind a lot of the basic principles of business, which is really, really difficult. So if you're trying to market your film right now, it makes absolutely no sense to go and spend money on billboards and radio ads and all of these things that we do because it drives general awareness and it's great for the ego, but it's doing shit when it comes to actually putting butts in seats and converting eyeballs. And what really is frustrating for us is we're not even following the best practices that YouTubers used in 2010 to market. Like it is really incredible to me how these digitally native individuals who grew up on TikTok or grew up on YouTube know how to market and monetize their audience, but established filmmakers don't even know how to market. And so they put that power in the hands of individuals their distributors who may or may not understand the film that they're marketing and the audience that they're marketing to. And it's why podcasts like this, you know your audience, you know who your family is and who's listening. It's the filmmakers. A lot of times, distributors are generally buying information to try and figure out who this is. And they're just saying, oh, we're just going to market to all 18 to 34-year-old females because that's the demographic that loves this type of film. And it completely misses the audience that's actually there to show up for the film.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned something. Yeah. You just mentioned something that's been, I guess I could call it the P underneath my mattress, it's like
in your craw, Nick.
Exactly.
Has your craw been
in my
stuck?
craw, bro. Like, and this is the thing. You guys follow me.
Have you been plugged?
Yeah, right.
That's a word we invented a couple weeks ago.
Right. So here's the thing, and Austin, guys, like you push back on me, and Chris too, if I'm way off, okay? But you mentioned the industry, and that word has been bugging me for probably 2 weeks because, and this is why. You said industry has gotten away from some of the fundamental principles of business, right? So here's my pushback to that. So I agree. So it's like a yes and. My yes and is that businesses serve people in order to make the business owners money. That's what a business does, right? It serves people
100%.
in order to make the business owner money.
Or serves businesses.
But industry feeds itself. Its whole purpose is to sustain itself. It's not for service, right? It's not what that's for. Its intention is to survive. So if I have to burn you down or do something, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care. It's about making money on the backs of businesses, right? So the film industry is makeup artists, it's laundromats, it's taxi services, it's actors, it's lighting, it's literally all of these things. It is an industry that exists to sustain itself. So just like social media, right? It started out as this great business, as a service, right? I give you access to your friends and your family, and I do it for free, and I do it. But no, now it's like, no, how can I monetize you to sustain myself?
Yeah.
And I think that's the key for me with folks like you. It isn't how do we fix or change the industry? Because if you try that, you lose, you fail by default. It's like, no, how do we create a business, right? Because you need to sustain yourself as a business owner that actually serves, that its intention is to serve the population that your service or product was engineered for.
Yes. I think what's really interesting, and maybe this is semantics, but I agree with you completely. And when I think about the industry and the way that it needs to be changed, I think the way that we change the industry is by servicing people again. And I think the problem is, to your point, like, it's not about economic activity. It's about human beings. So when you have 100%. A work culture that is toxic, like, it blows my mind that a certain streamer, the CEOs, author papers about work culture that is so very important to them that they want to, like, make a big deal about it. But then when you go work on the films that we're in that same ecosystem, the culture is extremely toxic. It's the antithesis of everything that they say in their beautiful little papers. And so for us, when I look at the two sides of our app, we have two businesses that we're really focusing on. And one is filmmakers. That's our primary focus, is building technology for those filmmakers. We want to make the industry more efficient and more equitable for them, because that's the future for us. Those are the people that we want to take care of. On the other side is the fans. We want to create a film and TV landscape that isn't just like dumping a bunch of shit on a library and it gets lost in the chaos. You want to create an experience that makes this stand out. And we want to bring the magic back to filmmaking. And I think that, to your point, it's learning to service the values of those two individuals and connect those two individuals where we're going to see a real change. And that new business model will change the industry fundamentally, because if you're getting a ton more value as a fan on this platform and you're getting a ton more value as a filmmaker on this platform, that is what the industry is. And that supports artists. That supports the laundromats. That supports the guys who are printing the signs and the PAs and everybody in that ecosystem.
That's awesome.
You know, it's interesting. You know, I won't push back on it. I do agree. I thought it was really well said, Nick. So kudos to you. I'm thinking about where we are with the industry. For change to happen, the industry has to be not working. It has to be broken. And there are a lot of people that come on our podcast and that we talk to that say, hey, the industry is broken.
Yeah.
But the reason why we have this really, and the same thing was true of the music industry for a long time. They were running off Tin Pan Alley business model up until Steve Jobs basically had Sean Parker, who invented Napster, had a gun to their head, and they had to change their model. But that model ended up being worse for artists than they could have imagined, unless you're in the top 1%.
Yep.
So someone else was on the take there, and the label sort of gave it all up to them because they were broken. And I don't know if film is actually broken enough to change, because here we are in 2024 with all this technology, and why can't anybody fix it? And I look at, and so I will use crypto as an example, since we have Austin on, right? crypto didn't say to itself, how do we fix the financial industry? It said, we're going to create an alternative, and it's going to be so good, and it's going to be so accessible, and it's going to be such an interesting store of value that people are just going to do it, Nick. They're just going to go do it. It's going to be, that's it. And we're going to see if we can ride free of financial industry, of regulation, as far as we can go, and keep it afloat. And they've had their bruises, and they've taken beatings for Sam Bankman-Fried and for CZ and some of the things Binance has gone through, and the NFT grifters, and you know everything else that's come with it. But at the end of the day, right now, Bitcoin is $52,000 a coin, and I do think people crave simplicity. They want there will be almost an M&A type of shrink of that industry, because people want to just know, okay, is Bitcoin store of value? Is it Tether? Is it USDC? Like, what is it? Right. And I think I look at Elon as well. So you brought up Elon Musk, Austin. Like, how did he revolutionize rockets? Well, NASA was completely broken. We had not done, there was no flights to the International Space Station that could happen in the US because we were so bureaucratic. They're all coming out of Russia and China. So he just built a company and said, you should pay me. I can do it for less. And we'll get space exploration back being a United States thing. And so I just wonder if that's not really the answer, Nick, is that they're still making money hand over fist. So in their eyes, they're good.
Yeah.
What's broken is us, the workers, the people inside. We're the ones that have the horror stories. We're, I always bring up the guy who still hasn't got any money from Men in Black that co-wrote Men in Black. So it's not broken for them. It's broken for us.
Yeah, but you're that's what I'm saying. You're saying what I'm saying, right? Which is like, don't try to fix that. Create this, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like,
but maybe you need to build a whole nother industry.
Well, I think there's that's where they're going. That's the beauty of it.
I mean, we look at the world is so different than it was in the 30s when film was first invented. Also, I think that we need to realize, unlike music has been around for a long time. Yeah. Film is a very new medium. It's a very new technology. In all of humanity, we have not had motion pictures save for the last 100+ years. And really, the way that we know them today.
Is it Austin?
Yeah.
I don't think it's 100 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if you count some of those really cryptic, first sort of like photography and sort of, the way they did it, I mean, less than 100 years old. It's a very new, young industry that is going through significant growth pains and cycles. And one of them right now, though, I think, is that we see that we have the internet, and that is shocking the system. We have content all over the internet today. It could not be easier to find a film. And that film could be your grandma holding her cat, right? That would have been unheard of.
Our favorite short film from the National Film Festival, Austin, was two Chinese grandmas in a room.
That's awesome. And
that's awesome. Disney bought it. So you're dead on. I mean, you couldn't be more spot on.
Yeah,
it could be your grandma holding the cat.
But for some reason, even though we have the internet, even though seemingly in the click of a button you can watch any video anywhere at any time, seemingly, and I'll push back on what you said before. Actually, they're not making money hand over fist. Netflix is the only profitable streamer. They only reached profitability last year. All the rest of them are losing $10 billion plus every year. They are losing money left, right, and center. Mm-hmm. They have sort of resorted to the short-termist approach where if we just keep buying up content and keep putting bigger and bigger names on our platform, we'll somehow hit a profit. And that's just not true, because they're overlooking the fundamental of the art over and to your point before about servicing people, right? At the end of the day, it's not about numbers on a spreadsheet. What you were doing is you were telling stories, and you're delivering film to the individual. If you're a streaming platform, if you're a tech platform like we are, and if you're not obsessed with your fan experience on the one side, like Daryl said, and you're not obsessed with fostering the most incredible filmmakers and films, then you're going to end up losing. It will catch up to you. At the end of the day, $15 can't pay for unlimited content. I don't care what Netflix tells you. The math doesn't math at the end of the day. And so what we look at is we say, well, but that actually provides the opportunity to look at what was and say, you know what, LVOD, SVOD, ETT, DTO, PVOD, TVOD, like, good Lord have mercy. It's gotten crazy.
It has. Yeah, we always say, Austin, that innovation is bundling, and then innovation again is unbundling.
Yes.
So you just bundle and you unbundle over and over.
Is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. And so what I love about, the company that Daryl and I have built together that is well beyond us at this point, is that we are a mission-driven company. And our mission was very simple from the start. We have 3 E's that we believe in as a company. We believe in efficiency, we believe in equitability, and we believe in engagement. And those are very crucial for the making and delivery of film and television. If you're not efficient in the way that you go about it, it's very hard to recoup any financing that you put in it. And it tends to persist a problem of this mantra that film and TV doesn't make money. And so that just makes it so much harder to make your next film, or for other filmmakers to make it, because everybody thinks it's a money-losing business when it's actually not. At the end of the day, if done right, and it can actually be a very profitable business, which then allows you to tell more stories, which allows you to impact more change in the world. The second, equitability. If everybody isn't aligned together, paid fairly, compensated, if everybody doesn't win together, if there isn't win-win economics at play, that just is its own corrosive mechanism that tends to degrade what is a very beautiful industry. And then the final thing, engagement. If you don't engage the ultimate end user, which is your fans, and they don't feel excited and they don't feel that magic, at the end of the day, it's just video after video after video after video, then we are reaching a world in which the magic has been lost and the actual impact of the art itself that all of us are in this space to do. None of us woke up and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a film just to go make some money. I don't know of a single person that ever says, I'm just in this business to make money. That's it.
That's right.
Like, there are a lot easier jobs just to make money. People do it because they love it. And yet for some reason, when it actually gets to the end user as a fan, you go, wait, where's your film? How do I find it? Oh, it's on Netflix. How do I search for it? I didn't know about it. I couldn't click easily. Oh, I'm not subscribed to that one, so I can't get it. And so while we can't fix every single problem that's out there, we can just actually, like you said, say, hey, the future actually looks like this, and it's bright and beautiful. And we have the power to build that through technology that is mission driven, that the technology isn't built to divide. It's not built to win, lose. To the point you were saying, and I think was actually crucial, what's unique about our team is Daryl and I are folks that are from within the industry. If you look at Steve Jobs, not a musician, didn't come from the music industry, but introduced iTunes to the world. Daniel Ek from Spotify, not from the music industry. He's a tech bro that created the #1 app in the streaming space that, like you said, has actually made things worse off, right? Even the founders of Netflix. And by the way, as a tech founder, these are some of the people I respect the most in the world for the amazing companies that they built, their ability to scale, their ability to create incredible business models. Nothing on the tech side of it do I have any qualms with, but it is folks that are from outside of the industry that walked in, said, hey, here's some amazing technology. It's going to change your lives. And then we all woke up a couple decades later and said, oh my gosh, this just made it worse because $15 doesn't pay for unlimited everything. So somebody has to lose. And how much is Spotify per month? $10 doesn't pay for unlimited everything, and somebody has to lose. And so then it created these win-lose economics that ultimately somebody ends up losing out. And we don't have to have win-lose. We can definitely have win-win. And so that's what we believe at Kino is actually being mission-driven by doing the right technology that's innovative. We can empower instead of subtract.
There's a lot to dig in on that, Nick. I mean,
but Chris, is Austin even excited about this? I can't even tell, man.
No, he's not excited. He's passionate, man. Because one of the things that sends investors running for the door is walking in looking like a wild-eyed dreamer. As a film investor myself, I tell creatives, don't come in there talking about yourself. Make it about them, and don't be wild-eyed dreamer-like. Go in there and have a plan and be legit. But I want to dig in on it because you do make a great point about the money that's being lost. I suppose there's money flow in, depending on if you're a publicly traded company or not, and then there's money loss shown based on taxes and tax loopholes that so Zaslav, for example, is a master at this, who runs, HBO and Warner now, and Netflix. You're right. They figured out how to be profitable. I don't know how much longer they're going to be that way. I mean, there's only so many people that can afford that subscription a month. And to your point, Paramount, I mean, they won out. They'll probably be acquired by June, right? Or sooner. Paramount Plus is going to go away. So you're right on that. And I spoke a little bit too loose there for sure. I guess what I'm thinking about industry wise, and maybe, and so I love what you're doing with Kino. And I do wonder though, does there have to be a new category that maybe Kino can create? What I mean by that is, everybody that we've talked to that's trying to change the industry or say they're going to, do it in a different way, they try to play by the rules that already exist because that's the industry, but then they try to have their twist on how they're going to do it different, but they still played by the same rules that got them to this place. When you, and so I guess I wasn't super clear on it. So it's me, but my thinking on it is like, is there a way to, through technology specifically, create a new way to consume content that satisfies the end user, the fan, the viewer, and is profitable and pays the people who create the content? There's a lot of tech bros, like to your point, Austin, that would just say, "Oh, the answer to that is AI." AI is how that's going to work, but I don't think
that's too general.
And it's not ready. It's not there. There's a lot of people that did a freaking backflip for Sora this week, and I'm like, too many. I keep tweeting this out or posting whatever it's called now. Like, guys, this is actually not good enough for a feature film. This is not actually going to work. Maybe, Daryl, an establishing shot.
Look,
like
I think
where you're taking a drone shot maybe over a city, but what do you do when you have to edit that?
Look, I think that the idea that generative AI is going to provide all the solutions that we need is absolutely ridiculous. And AI will solve a bunch of problems in film and TV behind the scenes long before it will be generating its own content. So if we want to look at AI implied solutions, go ahead. Austin also expert in this and has very strong opinions around AI as well. So we're going to just
I'd love to hear it.
No, but like a lot of what's being done in AI is completely illegal. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
It's a lot of the data that's being fed to these LLMs is copyrighted. And
copyright
cannot actually be used. And so once we actually dive into, how was this, the famous Sora shot of Tokyo, where was that sourced from? And was that copyrighted content? And guess what? If Disney owned part of that, they are going to sue you. And they're going to say, 10% of that shot was derived from data that we own. So it's like we have this, and also at the end of the day, we are reaching a point, and not to bring Elon up again, but Elon was on stage at the New York Times conference and talking about how he believes that now is the most interesting time to live. And if you ever could live at a certain time, you should probably live in the most interesting time, because today we are actually reaching a point where AI can replace a lot of human function. But the approach I take to it, and there's a beautiful book called Utopia for Realists. I highly recommend you check it out. We should be using things like AI and technology to replace functionality that does not service humanity for the positive.
That's right.
Right? At the end of the day, making the very food that we need to eat to survive probably should be done by robots and AI at some point. Or if you love doing it, keep doing it, but create a niche, boutique, crazy spot where you're this amazing chef, but just actually getting you fed, right? Or actually, not to hate on my accountants out there, but getting your spreadsheets done probably could be done by AI. And not to throw my fellow lawyers under the bus, but at some point, that is an industry where, the basics of law could probably be done by AI. Well, why in the world, if we as humans sat down and said, you know what we should replace? We should replace actors. We should replace artists. It's just too tough. It's too damn tough. We really need technology. So at the end of the day, the current economic system that it lives in is spurring this on. It is very sexy to say AI can create the next Marvel movie and make $1 billion, and it cost us $2 to make it. That is a beautiful proposition. But we are at a point now as humanity, we need to make active choices and say technology either serves us or it doesn't. And if technology doesn't serve us, maybe we should choose to not support it. And maybe we should say instead, so to your answer before, what are the ways? There are certain, new business models, like we're introducing a business model that allows for more direct revenue streams and monetization to each film. It expands the pie of each film when the pie is shrunk so small. That's one way. Another way that we see as one of the places AI should immediately replace is marketing. Nobody likes buying ads or creating marketing campaigns. And guess what? You're doing it all off your own data set in your own head. AI knows better. It just does. It can review, the past 100 years of data and say, based off historical precedent, the most likely result is that this is the best way to take your film and reach 100,000 people and make $2 million. And look, you just turned profitable, right?
When we started,
it's in that way,
we would spend 40 hours creating these spreadsheets about like what's your target audience.
Yep.
What cities. Anyway, go ahead. Keep going. Keep your role.
No. It's exactly to that point. Is there are things like that, or hang out, everybody. Yeah. You know, why we can have technology that just immediately pays out royalties. It goes to your bank account. It's immediate, easy, done. Even things like data reporting. You as the human should have that at the endpoint. And so for us on our producer dashboard side, we are building out all these tools to simplify and create efficiency in that process. Because what that does is, for example, Barbie had to spend $100 million to go make $1 billion. Now that's great for Barbie. Yeah. But if you're not Barbie and you're Madam Web and you just spent $100 million to make $10 million, well, that's not great. And if you're actually 90% of film and TV that doesn't have $100 million laying around, the reality
more than
is
90%. Yeah.
Yeah. So
exactly.
99.9%. It doesn't have $100 million lying around. What do you do? Well, the reality is you don't need to spend $100 million. We have the internet. There are 4.01 billion people on it. Use digital tools that are built right. Utilize AI to find, target, and acquire your end user, your end fan, and give them the best experience to engage with your art, where they're going to go tell their friends and family, focus on the fan. And so for us, it's all about those tools that take out the inefficiencies, that take out the inequitability, because then we can actually foster a better economic model, a more innovative model, and something that actually gives some people some joy instead of scrolling through TikTok all day and then trying to find something on Netflix and going to bed sad and tired. At the end of the day, you should be
like literally describing last night for me.
You're right. Well, look, but before we hop into some things we should know with producer Papa Bear, I should just say thank you, producer Joe, for dropping knowledge on us about. So producer Joe in my ear here has said first movie looks to have been 1888 or 1878.
Oh shit, that's earlier than I was thinking.
The Horse in Motion.
Yeah.
So thank you, producer Joe.
But I think I win that one, Chris, then, because you said under 100, and I wanted to push back, but you were so confident.
I was so confident.
Is Horse in Motion?
It's my primary skill.
I don't know. When was Edison?
Producer Joe.
Because Edison did the thing where you have to look through the little square, right? And basically the whole thing is spinning in order for you to watch the movie, right? Yeah. And it was just this little tiny bit of light that would come in to enable you to see this thing. And I think
I'm checking out the note. The first film was 2 seconds, Nick. Does that count?
Definitely.
As a movie?
It was a
moving picture,
2-second video of myself. It's moving. Yeah,
that's right. It's a moving picture.
Counts as a movie. So
that would have blown people's minds.
That's right.
It did.
Probably thought it was witchcraft. Someone got burned.
Someone got killed.
For looking at that. Probably. So that would make it like 100 and maybe 50 years old, or close to that, if it's that old. So correction there. I want to talk about a few points you made there, Austin. I want to dig into them a little bit before we go to things we should know with Papa Bear. I just want to say this, and I know Nick is thinking it too. We could talk to you guys for 4 or 5 hours. Like this could be a Dan Carlin hardcore history episode. Like we could go for 6 hours. This could be on some biology shit where we're like talking forever. Shout out to those people who know who biology is. Former I think CTO of Coinbase. Okay, so marketing. There are these people, companies now. I'm friends with a guy at Matter IS who's doing this, and they are using Google's sort of AdSense infrastructure to flood the market with films and shorts and video and content, right? And then that generates it creates a flywheel for itself to generate views and cumulative views that are all owned by the same place, or all distributed by the same place. And then the deal is, okay, 3,000 views is $5 roughly. It changes, but over time you're getting like millions upon millions of views by creating this content. And then you're able to pay out all the creators and pay yourself at the same time as a distributor. I think that's a really awesome model for marketing. They need about $1 million to get the wheel going, by the way. That's not great. but they will do it for nothing, but you won't get those big results. But if you can buy $1 million of ads and own the vertical, so you need a quant,
Yep.
right, who can build it. You need a content creating company, right, that you own or have a partnership with, and then you just need the accounts. And you create all these different accounts, and it does it. So I love that part. The thing I don't like, to your point, Austin, and Daryl, you may have said this as well, and maybe even to your point, Nick, a little bit about industry. It's like the problem I have with it is it's still Google's infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So if Google says, "Hey, you guys are gaming the system," you, then you literally built your house on sand. It can be over tomorrow. So good try, but almost. Whereas we look at like Amazon and what Bezos did there over the span of many years is he said, okay, publishing is broken. The way we buy things is broken. I'll just create a new industry where people will buy books. Now you buy everything there, but initially people will buy books online instead of go to the store. And I can eliminate this supply chain and the whole publishing and all these things, this bureaucracy that existed, that same thing's happening in film where certain people are pushed out, even if they're really good. And because they don't know the right people and don't have access. And everyone laughed at them until they didn't. So I like to mention Amazon. I'm gonna start my pen there. Amazon as an example of maybe what Kino can do or what someone needs to do in film and figure out what is that side move. Also, original sins. Next bullet. I have wrote all these things down. Original sin was whoever the person was or whoever the company was that gave the app away for free.
Yeah.
Whoever started giving content away for free, whoever that executive was at the conference table that said, you know what? Those artists aren't really worth. Did we all grow up with a friend like that too? Who was like, yo, like, what's so special about that? I could do that. Or like, why am I paying for music? Or like, why are musicians so, they're the same people who ask why LeBron James is a billionaire. Like they don't understand anything. And you're like, LeBron James he dribbles a ball. Like, why is he so valuable in the market? It's not about dribbling the ball. And you don't have to understand the complexity of how much money he's making for other people. Unbelievably, he is underpaid, right? Yeah. And people who understand that know.
Yeah, I grew up in a fundamentalist religious cult, so I wasn't allowed to go to the movies or play.
Can you say what that cult is, Daryl?
Yeah, I can. And listen,
so the others can avoid it.
If anyone else is in here and you're listening to this, it was a hyper-conservative sect of the United Pentecostal Church. So we were not allowed to wear shorts, play sports, listen to music, go to the movies. We called the TV the Hellivision. And so the hell,
I haven't thought of that yet. It's 2024. I know, right? I thought to call it that. Go ahead. Those guys are innovators, Daryl.
Yeah, I know. Listen, we had some really bad jokes. But it blew my mind when I found out, because I wasn't allowed to go to sports games and stuff as a kid. So when I found out what people were making, like legitimately, and I grew up in poverty, so my entire worldview of how money worked also was like, it was very, 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 very shifted, I guess is what I would say. Like it blew my mind and I couldn't understand how this was possible. And someone really just like informed me of the attention economy and the idea that like it's a certain value of just having eyeballs. And I was like, oh, that's really fascinating to me. And it's hilarious because as I began to unpack the way the advertising industry works and like soaps, like literally film and television, TV started just to sell you dish soap. Yeah, that's like literally why they're called the soaps. And it's so interesting to me because everybody's acting like there's this new thing that's happening with AVOD and free TV, and it's advertising supported. And you're like, oh, this is, like you said, contraction and expansion. This is the bundling and unbundling effect. But the attention economy really blew my mind. And when I understood that there was power in the eyeballs, that's when I really realized how much value there was on social media. Because it is truly the ability to own your audience. And it blows my mind that filmmakers don't know how to monetize. Filmmakers can have 7 million followers because they're freaking amazing. And everybody wants to know what they're eating for breakfast. And they don't know how to market their movie to the point that they can get a distributor to pay for it. And it's not that filmmaker's fault. It's the distributors, because it's the distributor's job to market that film. And they don't know how to connect with that online audience because they're so disconnected because to Nick's point earlier, they're too busy looking at the economic impact.
I think Nick's a genius because he brought up how genius you guys are at segues. You brought up two things I want to say. First of all, advertising. Every business is based on ads, Nick. You have to, whoever creates the next big thing has to figure out how to make money without being dependent on the ads, because the P&A is what makes movies so expensive, partially. And the rest of the industries follow. The real truth is, in 2024, why the hell does it cost $10 million to make a movie like American Fiction? And by the way, kudos to American Fiction. Kudos to Anatomy of a Fall. Kudos to Rustin. I think it's so funny and ironic that the movies people are talking about this year are just simple human stories. Now Oppenheimer's going to win everything, and maybe deservedly so. Barbie was a big bonanza. They spent the money to get the money. That's all good. But these movies that people love and come back to, like The Holdovers, like Rustin, who Coleman Domingo should win. He was awesome for male actor. In my opinion, or Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction or Anatomy of a Fall. These are just human stories with a camera pointed. Why does it cost so much? Technology was Moore's law, man. Technology was supposed to relieve us of the expense. It was supposed to be a downward slope. Instead, it's an upward slope. It's a hockey stick of expense.
It makes no sense. I mean, I tell this all the time to people. I said, film has gotten more expensive. You know, one of the most expensive films of all time back when this industry started was Howard Hughes. I don't know if you've seen The Aviator with Leo, or if you just know the story of Howard Hughes. That man spent $2 million, which was a lot back then. If you adjust that for inflation, but he was literally inventing airplanes. He was inventing new kinds of planes that they put cameras on so they could take, film of other planes. Like, that was unheard of. We didn't even have commercial travel back then. So I'm like, of course the man spent $2 million. Now, that was bonkers then, but if you actually adjust for inflation, we're still spending more today on film. And we have drones, and we have amazing technology. And so you're like, so exactly, Moore's law should go like this in terms of costs, but in reality, we're going like this in terms of cost on films, and it makes no sense. But it actually has less to do with the technology, it has more to do with the economics. And our outside counsel, Sky Moore at Greenberg Glusker, shout out, represents some of the best in the business. He wrote an amazing book called The Biz.
Okay, write that down.
Also, it's a book that's I would highly recommend it for any filmmaker. Read it. It's going to be a deep dive into the economics, the law, just the social, the norms, the inner workings of the industry. Because some of it isn't legal. Some of it, not that it's illegal. It has nothing to do with the law. It has nothing to do with economics. It just is. There are things that we do in film that we just do because we do it, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense, and people just go, "Well, that's how it is," right? But one of them is that we have created, and this was really Netflix that introduced it. With buying out worldwide rights in perpetuity, is that there's no more back end. It's a one-time payout. So the monetization ends there. It's a snapshot in time. And if Netflix says it's worth $5 million now and you sell it for $5 million, no one on that team is making another dollar from that film. That's it. So that deal better be a damn good deal. And they also don't price it very well because they don't have any data to predict how well it's going to do. So it's very subjective. And so that film might go on to make $1 billion over its lifetime, and you got 1% of $5 million. Right. And now that's a great deal.
It is a great deal.
Right. And that's a great deal. I was like, that actually doesn't happen that often. And so they shifted the economics to this one where everybody goes, well, since I'm never going to see any back end, I might as well ask for as much as I can now. And also we have this historical thing that we do that everybody else in the world thinks is insane, except for us, that the bigger the budget, the better the movie. That is not true at all. It doesn't make it a better movie. It doesn't make it a more prestigious movie.
I just have to. I got to get back to Daryl's statement though, and that gets back
jump
to
in, Nick. I know your head's going to explode.
The industry versus business thing is like, the statement that you made is like, the distributors are failing filmmakers, right? And my perspective, unfortunately, I think is the reality, which is they're not. They're in it for themselves. The contract say that they're in for themselves. It is.
That's right. Because they're a part of the industry. That's fair. That's
exactly.
It's all exploitive.
Yes. And that's the thing. So the filmmakers. So the real thing that I want to know, and I guess we do really got to get to Papa Bear and things we should know. But like Chris said, we could do this all day. The thing is this, guys, literally build all this stuff. We could do what we do. How do we really get the filmmakers to listen to this, to understand this at large? Like this distributor thing isn't one or two distributors, right?
Yeah.
It might be 95% of them. So, but 95% of filmmakers don't seem to know this. So what is the platform that we need to create, right? We could do this together, right? We have the same mission. What is the platform we need to create to let them know it, right? To let them know it just like you're supposed to have 3-point lighting, right? Let them know it like the certain type of camera is the best type of camera. And like, what is the thing that we need to do to let people know, like fundamentally that this is?
I think for us, we have to show people. That's what, like, as you said, we could say we're going to go fix the old thing. I mean, we really said no.
Right.
Yeah, we have to operate within an industry as it is, right? Daryl and I have to be experts at doing that, and we are. How do you operate within a world where there are sales agents and distributors and production companies and studios and all the different watch windows and all the different rights and territories, which, by the way, doesn't even make sense anymore because we have the internet, and the internet doesn't have borders. That's a whole other topic. But so we still have to say, okay, that's where everybody's at. It's like the Overton window. We're here.
Yep.
They're still here. Because the way we see the world is one in which you have a film and you have tools that can take it out to the world. And at the end of the day, it will be judged on the value of its art. And you know what? There are some terrible rom-coms that my mom loves and watches on repeat over and over and over again. And that's okay. But the point is, if the film can find its target audience, that's a success. Now, is every film going to make $1 billion? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, every film should be able to find its audience. And hopefully, time and time again, that will convert to be a proper economic equation where it is a profitable one. Where at the end of the day, because our system is built on technology and data, that if you go create this goofy rom-com and only 100,000 fans are going to find it because it's weird and wacky, and the max you're ever going to make on it is $2 million, well, then you probably shouldn't spend $50 million making it, right? You probably should just be more purposeful in the way you go about it, right? So for smart, us, Austin. It is, we want people to know that Kino is where you go to launch films. Just like Amazon is where you go to shop, or if you're a seller, Amazon's where I go to sell. At the end of the day, Tesla is where you go to buy electric cars. But now there's Ford, there's other places. But for us, we want it to become a household name for producers. Yeah, Kino's my launch pad. That's where I go. Just like I might take it to physical theaters, but when I'm ready to hit the internet, I go to Kino first. And then I'm going to go sell it to Netflix or Disney or Hulu or whoever else. Because we have all the tools. If we're just the place,
so you don't have an exclusive. You don't have an exclusive contract.
We don't buy out. We're an exhibitor, just like a theater. Okay, so we don't buy out your rights. We are obsessed with making your film hit millions of fans online, and then I want you to take it and window it at Netflix and window it at Tubi
go all
and window
the places.
It at Pluto. Yeah. Because that's how a successful film is one that goes through multiple iterations of its life cycle. Yeah. While it's hot and heavy, launch it in a theatrical, launch it in we are a digital theatrical window. Launch it on Kino, capture fans. We give the fans the most magical experiences of film. Then once it starts to get that global recognition, take it off that limited watch window, get a great deal with Netflix, and then it lives in a beautiful library. And then maybe after that 10-year contract expires, go put it on AVOD, just like we used to syndicate and put things on linear, right? So then it can make some ad revenue.
Yeah. So I don't think the industry has. I think it's still got a sprained ankle from Netflix being successful, right? Because what Netflix did was it stole exhibition window.
That's right.
That was so meaningful to the industry and to the producers and actors and everybody in the waterfall.
And on top of that, at the same time, we killed the home entertainment market, which was a huge chunk that we still haven't figured out.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So it was like a 1-2 punch for us.
In the music business where I started, you would, and this is mostly for you, Daryl, because in a way, because you've been on this side where you've had to be an arbiter and a curator of good taste. You have to know the difference between good and bad. You have to understand that even if it's not for you, do they have a skill?
Yeah.
Did you do something skillful? I had this debate with one of our buddies today. Like, it doesn't matter if you like it or not. Do you know the difference between good and bad?
Are you talking about Daryl's dating life?
No. So here's the
wide
deal.
Open, guys. Let's have it.
Let's just talk about it. Let's get right. In music, they have showcases, and showcases filtered out the bottom 80% effectively every time. Mm-hmm. And every time I was in a singing group, and every time we'd go to a showcase, it'd be the same groups. So I had a singing group for guys named, and we were called Solace. And every time we would go to a showcase, it would always be the same artists over and over and over again, especially artists in the top 20% that would make it past the first round or second round. And so every state you'd go to, every city, yes, there'd be different people, but the same top 20% would show up is what I'm saying. Is there a way to do that in film? Is there a way to sort of, because one of the frustrations is and the truth is, you know, when we were doing consulting regularly and note giving and sort of actively looking for films to produce, we were getting hundreds of scripts, right? And 90% plus of them were really bad or just not good enough.
I think that's I think 90% is very generous if you're being real, you know, like that's
plus.
And some of them from people that I know are super talented and like they do other things that are great. And I'm like, ooh, that's not good writing. So writing's really hard. Storytelling's really hard. But a lot of the people who feel disenfranchised in the industry, which we've been talking about over the expanse of this episode in this conversation, is like, those people may not be talented enough to be on your app, for example. Right? Like, can we do that? Can we create a showcase? And then how do you guys curate what you will accept and won't accept onto the app for distribution?
Yeah.
Is it a free for all?
I mean, we did just do a short film fest, so you know it's a bit of a showcase. We did a People's Choice Award, so that way people can vote on it, and people might love something that artistically is technically not sound. It might have been terrible writing, but people just thought it was the funniest thing ever, or just the weirdest thing ever, or the coolest thing ever. So we had a People's Choice Award, and we did Judge's Choice Award with amazing filmmakers, writers, directors, actors who know what they're talking about, who reviewed it, right? And that was a beautiful process. And that was digital. So you could have hundreds of thousands of people vote for your short film online, which helps augment the kind of thing that we see at a Sundance, right? Like Sundance is great for having a concentrated effort of experts in the industry that are reviewing. It's not great for having necessarily, you know, the masses look at it and vote for that. And I think we'll continue.
Plus, it's a market.
It's a market.
Yeah. And we'll continue to scale up our short film fest to continue to support and empower emerging filmmakers or filmmakers that want to get their work out there.
How do you do it though, Austin? Like, how do you manage and curate the people's choice? Right? Can people go in and, because on social media, like, you know, there's bot armies, there's like, you know, Taylor Swift fans, there's the Beehive, there's all these, there's people who can game it.
Yeah.
If they join together.
The idea,
and I was going to say, simply in our app, you have to be a member and you have to be a paying member. So if you're going to gamify that and you're gonna buy up 1,000 accounts and and you're going to pay for that, I mean, like we're going to be able to figure that out pretty quickly.
But what about like a Reddit situation where the whole AMC deal and those people were just people who decided they would form a group together and collaborate?
I mean, that is the power of the digital online community. I think that what you're describing, at least from my perspective, is kind of a twofold problem. One is, how do we get emerging artists into jobs where they can get the training that they need and deserve to develop a skill set and actually incorporate it into an industry, or better yet, a bunch of businesses. That is a different pipeline and a different issue than I think the showcase issue. And we've seen several versions of this that's tried to come out, like Blacklist. And I think that those are interesting, really interesting solutions. At the end of the day, I think that is an important issue. It's not the thing that we're focused on right now. You know, there are an infinite number of problems to solve, I think, with technology as the solution, which is great, because if our mission is equitability and efficiency and engagement, we're going to be able to check all of these boxes at some point, but it's a long journey. And so, I don't think I've put enough time and effort and energy thinking about how to solve this in a thoughtful way. So I could give you some bullshit answer that might sound really nice. But at the end of the day,
but then I'd be one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I'm focused, and Austin is too right now. Our 25-meter target, if I'm using the military analogy, the thing we are laser focused on is fixing the sales and distribution pipeline. And as soon as that's taken care of, we're going to move to the next target. And I think that's an interesting thing. I don't think I've spent enough time, really trying to solve that problem to give an informed decision.
They're connected. They're connected because I view your app as a festival and as a market in and of itself.
Yeah.
In
some ways,
we need great supply. At the end of the day, if we're going to be distributing film and TV, we constantly need amazing new film and TV, and we want to be always working with the newest, coolest, most amazing filmmakers, plus those veterans and experienced folks. So it is something we think about critically. Is the supply of our platform is something that we need to foster carefully, and that doesn't just mean you keep going back to the same production companies and producers and actors. Yes, continue to foster them. But at the end of the day, we also want to make sure that emerging filmmakers are there. I think there's also, I think education in film and TV, again, it's a little bit over 100-year-old industry. Education in film and TV is so nascent, right? I'm very lucky to have gone to USC. I went to the law school at USC. I didn't go to the film school, but I have many friends who went to the film school. Incredible program. But you can count on one hand. Daryl went to LMU, also incredible program, right behind USC. But the reality is that, you can kind of count on one hand the amount of film schools that probably do credibly train writers in the right way. And producing, people barely know how to teach that at all,
Right. Yep.
And
people barely know how to do that.
It's so true. You have MBAs, right? We have law degrees. All these other industries have these amazing processes to get trained, frankly, to the point where it's you stop it. You don't need to get trained anymore. But in film and TV, it's we just don't have enough, and it's not accessible. That's the other thing too, right? Not everyone. I feel incredibly lucky to be a kid from Ohio who was able to go to law school at USC. Most of my friends never even had the chance to get anywhere close to that. And if they wanted to go into film and TV, they no chance they would have ever gotten into one of those big schools, right? And I'm not saying that it has to even be a formal education, but just, the reality is, like you said, so many people get inspired and want to create the stories, but there's a function and a form to it that also needs to be taught to some degree. Not saying you can't be self-taught, but that is something I think about quite a bit too, is there's an education gap in this industry.
Yep, agreed.
I learned how to write.
I can't write. Daryl can.
I learned how to write by buying books while I was in the Army, and I kept a screenwriting book in my cargo pocket, and I bet I read 100 books, but that's the homeschooled nerd, awesome, that's awesome. But it's a very interesting thing, because I would say even the formalized programs that are really great and supposed to give opportunities to those who have been marginalized historically, there's not a good pipeline to put them into work. There's these programs that exist to even educate you, but even if you have the education, there is a huge difference between writing and producing like I did in film school, and writing and producing like I did in Vancouver the next semester. You know what I mean? It was a very different world, and that reality is very tough. And I think that we need a program. We used to have these great mentorships, and we used to have a system where you'd come in and you'd work as a PA and then a cam op. And, the next thing you knew, you were actually a DP, and you're shooting, and you have a skill set you built over time. Even though there's a huge volume of work, we've lost the real funnel to get people the experience that they need, which is part of the problem too, is because it takes a lot of experience to be able to be a professional storyteller. And there's no methodology right now to help people learn and grow, especially when it comes to short films. It blows my mind. We can monetize this content in a better way than we're doing. We just haven't put the effort and energy into doing it. And the opportunities that we'll create gives a young filmmaker a chance to come in and learn and de-risk his learning process. Because that's the other thing is you have to put in the reps.
Whoever can solve that too. If you guys solve the short film problem, man,
we're testing some ideas. We've got
money hand over fist. I've downloaded.
They're thinking about it. They're thinking about it.
It's a 5-star app. Kudos to you guys. And Nick, I know you want to ask some questions before we roll, but just still in the short film thing. The thing I hate is that Google and YouTube make so much money off these short filmmakers because they don't pay you until you have 10,000 subs, but they run ads on you the whole time. And so they're getting all the ad revenue. Who has 10,000 subs for one short film? They don't have it.
Yeah. And they only pay $5 per 1,000 views.
Yeah.
We have some folks that submitted to our short film festival that also posted on YouTube prior to Kino. And they had millions of views, and they made less than what we were offering in prize money to them, because you make 5 per 1,000. So you get 1 million views, you're getting $5,000. Right. That's,
and if we're being real, Tubi's not that much better. You know what I mean? If you're up here, you're talking about fractions of a penny per viewer. If you're in the AVOD space, this is not a fair monetization And again,
No.
it's because it's an industry. It's because people who are trying to extract the maximum amount of value possible instead of infuse their offerings with value. Sorry, I cut you off, Austin.
No. I mean, the point was really just that at the end of the day, these are not invalid channels. It's just about, like kind of to my point before, we have to make choices as humans now. We have so much technology, we have so much optionality. We now need to decide, are we going to be mission driven? Are we going to be purpose driven? Are we going to look out for one another? And also win-win economics. It can be about me and be about you at the end of the day. And that is very valid. And actually, if you look, into a lot of historical examples, win-wins are the ones that actually ultimately prevail over win-loses. Win-loses, like I said before, tend to be corrosive.
Yeah.
And so something like that. Something like a YouTube or a Tubi, I don't think that they're invalid platforms, but should that be the first place that you put your short film that people see when it's hot and new? No, that should probably be where it goes to retire, and then it generates some ad revenue or something.
And to my point earlier, Austin, if it's really good, that can't be your first place. You put it because, like you said, if it's hot, new, and really good, you've just shot yourself in the foot, right?
Yeah. So before we wrap up,
bring us home, Nick. What's on your mind?
One of the things that I was, I got stuff on my mind, man. Yeah. I'm always thinking about something, and then these guys get me excited about what's going on. So
I'm excited, man. I'm excited for Kino.
Dude, I'm hot. I'm wearing a sweatshirt. What was I thinking?
Austin's pulling the Adam Newman on me over here. I'm like ready.
Yeah. But here's the thing.
Wire him money.
My hair's not long enough yet to make that reference. But
you're right. So here's the deal. So what I was thinking was, it's like the relationship that filmmakers have with, you could say, the industry and or with these streaming services is basically an abusive relationship.
Yep.
People stay in these relationships for whatever reason, right? Some of them that's just all I know.
Are you talking about my dating life now? Is that what we're
see?
It's fun.
You're right.
Excellent
We're back to this
segue.
again. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, some of them is like, some people think that's all I deserve. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, you've heard those stories, right? That's all I deserve is this. Yeah. Some of them are like, well, he or she is a good breadwinner, or he or she is good to me when they're good to me. Mm-hmm. Right. They don't know anything else. Yeah. And I think that's what this is. The only reason that, well, I'm going to say the only reason, one of the primary reasons we see or hear about why people stay in these relationships is because they're not familiar with anything better. They're not familiar with the possibility that there's something out there that would serve them better. Right. And I think that's it. I think that's where filmmakers are. Why do they put their stuff on? Why do you put a short on YouTube? It's because of what every filmmaker tells us. You cannot monetize a short film.
Yeah.
That's it. Not that they have not found a way. No one ever says, I haven't found a way.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That means, that's different from saying you cannot. That's an absolute. That's the issue. The absolutes that the filmmakers absolutely believe need to be destroyed. And I think that's where you guys come in. It's like, look, we're going to show examples of the person you can date that is not going to abuse you. Here's the person you can date that is not going to take advantage of you. And when that word gets out, and I'm telling you guys, like, I know that you mentioned going to film festivals. That's where you have to be, right? Whether you're physically there or virtually there, if you can have your voice at all of these film festivals where these filmmakers are, then they will be introduced, even for a moment, to the possibility of something better. That is the spark, right? That's the thing. That's the red pill.
Yeah.
And that's where they need to go.
I loved it.
That was a great call. It's true. And I think that, our basic thesis as media tech founders is that automated software, removing the friction and pain out of bringing your film to the heights of success. The reality is that automated software is very cheap once it's built. And this is why we have gone and raised millions of dollars from amazing tech investors, that we can go build the platform and build the software to then allow for that to persist the success of filmmakers. And then we actually take the lowest distribution fee in the industry. Because at the end of the day, we've had some investors go, you should charge more. Other people do it. We're not other people.
Of course.
We're not other people. We're looking to be the place that every filmmaker knows, this is where I can launch my film, right? At the end of the day. And like you said, we're going to have, we have to maintain
what is the fee?
The app and all of that. But we take 30%. We give 70%.
Okay.
But we don't have any sort of hidden fees. We don't have any sort of Hollywood accounting. It's a very, very simple.
And we're also adding in the marketing value and giving you the value of that data. Yeah. And that data is, I think, like, if you understand what it means to market a film and you've tried to do this yourself, especially if you've ever four-walled or you've ever tried to run and you said, and I'm going to load it up onto, all these EST, AVOD platforms myself. And you've tried to promote, how hard that is. That's a very difficult.
Some people just don't market, and that's not an option either.
Yeah,
it's just competitive. It's a red ocean.
Money that way.
There's so much. There's so much noise on the internet. I mean, like, there are cool parts of our app too that people will never notice and see, but our data infrastructure is 10 times cheaper because of the way that it's been built, purpose driven. That allows for us that, at some point 30% might be too high, and we have to reduce that. Mm-hmm. But we are still able to offer the highest margins in our business model because our tech is just that much more efficient. Like, efficiency is not a sexy word. You're like, why is that part of your mission? Because efficiency means that actually we can then transfer that value that we have redeemed out of efficiency and technology to the ultimate end users, the filmmakers and the fans. And yes, we make profit out of that by being the supplier of that value. But it is really, at the end of the day, because we are servicing people, not because we are just looking at spreadsheets and trying to maximize numbers. It's because we're saying, hey, filmmaker, there are these 5 things that you do that are really expensive, one of which is marketing. And if you could reduce the cost of that by 10x, what would that do for you? Oh, wow. You'd probably be able to make a bunch of profitable movies. The very fact that we have to store your videos online is not cheap in the old system, but our new technology is so much cheaper. So, guess what? We don't have to bake into your contract all these extra fees. We don't have to take this high of a distribution fee. We can actually make it really simple and make it one of the lowest in the industry. Great. It's just things like that again, go back to our mission. And that's the difference between a mission-driven company and an idea-driven company. We've had a lot of amazing tech companies that have been founded off of ideas. What if I could just press a button on my phone and a taxi would be delivered to me? Uber. Great idea. Revolutionize humanity. So cool. But guess what? It did leave a lot of pain in its wake. The whole taxi industry had to figure it out. And there's nothing good or wrong or bad or anything. It just is. It happened. Right? Yeah. Same thing with Netflix. What if I could just sit down and subscribe and see every movie ever? That is really cool. It's such a cool idea. And it did a lot of things for our industry, but it also did have impact in ways that now we as tech founders need to look back and say, okay, you proved you could do that. But also, what if we did this? And what if it was better? And that's where we're looking towards.
Yeah. Hey, I got something for you. And then I know we got to wrap.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about this. You ready for this? Oh, yeah. I know you guys are waiting, right? We're a filmmaking company with no collateral damage.
Look, I want to just take that and clip that. I'm just going to take that audio soundbite. Please email that to me afterwards. And that's going to open our pitch.
That's
open our pitch to the VCs.
Is that the Jamie Foxx
Chris knows
collateral damage?
You simplify the whole thing, right? Just like Chris said, you simplify the whole thing. You take parts out you don't need. The answer is no collateral damage.
Yeah. And you just delete. And because the genius is in the simple, it doesn't matter if it's complex underneath, right? Like, I used to work for a SaaS company, and the SaaS, once you build it, it's built, and everything else is profit side. And all the elegance is in the fact that you can present a UI, right? And then create a UX, a user experience that is very simple and intuitive. And you don't understand that so much is powering that UX UI behind it. So I think it's a brilliant place to stop, man. And I tell you what, here's what we'll try for the audience. We have a short film that we did, and it did make a festival, and we've not released it. We've just chosen not to release it. So it's never been released outside of the festival it was in, and we will send it to you guys, and let's see what it does. Let's see how it does. And
case study style.
Yeah, it's not to me, the filmmakers are great. I love all the filmmakers. We were supporting a first time filmmaker when it was made. Mm-hmm. And so it's good, not great, but it is good. And we'll see what happens. So that'll be a good place to start. We'll do a little case study in real time with you guys. With that, can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media, where they can find you on the internet, where they can download your app, see some of your work, etc.?
Yeah.
At
absolutely.
Kino Makes Movies on all social channels. At Kino, Kino, Makes Movies on all socials. Kino.studio is the URL for those of you that utilize browsers. For those of you that have a Roku enabled TV or a Roku native TV, we are on Roku. We are coming very soon to Fire Stick for all you Fire Stick folks, Apple TV for all you Apple TV folks. And for those of you that are weird and use Samsung and Vizio and all that, we're getting to you. That'll happen soon. And then you can download our mobile app on the Apple App Store. And for those of you who are also weird and have Android operating systems, we are coming to you soon on Android. But for right now, at Kino Makes Movies on socials, give us a follow. Kino.studio is the URL, and you can download it on Roku and the Apple App Store.
Boom.
And anywhere people can find you guys directly if they wanted to reach out, DM you.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Email you.
LinkedIn is always great.
Sketchy LinkedIn messages, guys. It works.
They do.
Right,
Sketchy LinkedIn messages are my love language. Or at Austin C. Worrell on Instagram.
At Daryl Fannin.
The best two ways to get me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Guys, this was amazing. I really appreciate everything.
Well, we have to do a round two. I have so many bullets written down. I just know it's not the time to do it. I looked down to see how long we had been talking. I'm like, oh crap, this went by fast because we're just having such a good time. So I really appreciate you. I know I speak for the producers, speak for Nick as well. Like, you guys are amazing guests. We would have you back anytime for round 2, 3, 4, whatever.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep track of the success and the progress, and we'll get back to this audience on how things are going with our own little personal case study I just announced. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on X at Flame in Your Heart. Your is spelled with UR, or you can just search my name, Chris Barkley, and I will come right up. I'm a fun follow. If you want to reach out to Nick, you can find him on Reddit at Nicholas Bugs. He has a whole thing he's doing there with Q&A. And if you have a question for us or for Daryl or for Austin, shoot him a question at his Reddit page or at his Reddit handle, and he will bring it up on this very podcast, and we'll be able to address your questions, and he'll answer you on the app as well. If you want to email him and tell him the history of Hillman College, you can do that at Nick at bonsai.film. Yes, his personal email, Nick at bonsai.film. He's a brave man. If you want to find anything about the Make It podcast, it's really easy. Wherever you go on the internet, just search for the Make It podcast, and we will pop right up, including on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, you name it. You'll find us there. Last but not least, we have a bi-weekly newsletter. It's a passion project. We love doing it. We find the stuff you won't find in film all across the internet and the world, including insider stuff that gets fed to us through the channels that you literally will not find on the internet. So do subscribe. That's bonsai.film/subscribe. So bonsai.film/subscribe, or you can go to bonsai.film and then click newsletter in the top right corner. It's just your email address. We don't sell it. We don't do anything, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's completely free. So with that, Nick, can you please leave us with the credo?
Of course. And I too will put all the bullets to the side for the next conversation because this passion and this excitement is palpable in this room. And honestly, guys, I wasn't, you could say that in the beginning, there was a little bit of jest in the hug, but I'm just telling you, that's how I feel. Mm-hmm. Like it's amazing when you find kindred spirits in this industry. One that for us, we started this podcast because of the people who were not kindred spirits, right? So when you find folks like you, it's like, dude, we know folks are like this are out there, and they're out there for the community. And we get so excited to literally have you on and have these conversations. So guys, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And with that, I definitely have to say to our friends, our family, our fans, our followers out there, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Nick, Daryl, Austin, talk to you guys soon.
Yes, sir.
Chat soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Peace.
Thanks, guys. Y'all take it easy.
Be good, guys.
Peace.
Peace.
I realized Could you make me feel new again? Cause I've been for so long waiting for you. Tell me something I don't know. Could you make me feel new again? Cause I've been for so long waiting for you. You make me wanna do. You make me wanna so baby say
At Baker's Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Baker's Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Baker's, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.